Alrighty, welcome to Supernatural Signals, my haunted journal edition. If you're new here, I this is where I just kind of ramble about my week and what's been going on with me, especially towards the supernatural realm, as well as any shows I've been watching, any things that I see in the news that might make me think about the supernatural and how like maybe regular news or crime things or things like that could be related to the supernatural in some context, and just about like what shows I'm watching and any updates and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of both of like what's been going on with me and what's going on in the supernatural world, and just a hodgepodge of crap that's going on in my life. um, so I just launched. I'm gonna just start off with some updates to the channel. I just launched the newest Huska Castle video, which I really like. I'm trying to keep, you know, I don't know. I really liked it. I like the format of it. So, trying to like keep it kind of that same rhythm. So enjoying that. And then, I probably will revisit that one just because I think it's an interesting case and maybe do some more research on it. Other than that, I'm working on another investigative video. So that will be coming as well. And that's as far as the channel goes. Still enjoying it. I'm still, I noticed, I think I got a couple new followers. So I really appreciate anyone that has subscribed. Feel free to make any comments if you'd like. Um, Sometimes I don't get like frustrated with the growth of my channel. I just get maybe more self-conscious with it, but nothing bad. Like it's not something that's in my head a lot, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm hoping I'm on the right track, but I also find it a good way because it also gives me time to like figure out the vibe of my channel and what works and what doesn't work without having maybe a lot of voices in my head yet. Um, so, I've been working on it and I'm proud of my channel. So that's all that matters. But um, yeah. And I was talking to one of my friends. I don't know, we have kind of a unique relationships, but he has a lot of wisdom, I guess, if you want to call that. And he kind of always like every time I get frustrated, or not frustrated, but even just start thinking about it, to him, he'll say something like, have you seen the movie Field of Dreams? He's like, if you build it, they will come. And I'm like, okay. So anytime I have that like feeling, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna keep building it and they will come. I don't know who they are, but maybe someday there will be a they that will appear. So still working on that. But as far as the channel updates go, that's pretty much it. But other than that, some updates on my life. Um, as far as me and Kermie know, now if you're again new to the channel, which most likely you are, good chance. My boyfriend, I give him the nickname Kermie. He doesn't have a personal strong presence online, but he does help me with my channel a whole lot, and he's a big believer in the supernatural. In fact, he's the one that taught me a lot of stuff and like helped me through a lot of stuff. And so I just call him Kermie. And that's his nickname. And yeah, so if I mention Kermie, that's my boyfriend. I don't want to keep saying my boyfriend, my boyfriend, my boyfriend. I'm just gonna say Kermie from now on. It's easier. So um, we actually found a dog and we tried to find his owner, and we did not find his owner. And we decided that since it's been a while, I'm not going to say how long it's been, but it's been enough time, and we did the proper things of trying to find his owner. We decided, hey, and the circumstances we found him too was very Kermie just said mouse suspicious. He's being quiet over there, but suspicious is, I guess, the right word. Not, I don't know, just not in the proper way that you would be someone, not in a way that someone be missing their dog, apparently. And it's been again like a while. We did the proper things to trying to find them, call people, did the everything. Yeah. So we did that, and um sorry, my brain's a little woo. We did that, and we just starting to making him more our dog, and getting him all settled. And he is such a good dog. Like I just oh, he's such a good dog. He's such a good dog. We named him Buddy. And and I know it's kind of a cliche name, but my cat's name is Kitty, so it just suits him, right? You can't think of like with cliche names to me. It's like I don't know. It's like you could say, "Oh, it's so cliche," but if he quacks like a duck, if he looks like a duck, he's a duck, and he's a buddy. Like he's just such a good boy. Like we like I don't even know how to describe it. He's such a good boy, and like anytime he does anything the slightest bad, he's just like he's just I don't know, he's just the best. And it's been an adjustment with Kitty, but it's all good. And she's still the queen of her throne, and that's what's important, and still the star of the videos. Again, if you're new here, I put like a little tortie in my videos, which she's based off of. And I might have to start include him, but he's his derpy self, and we love him to death. But anyway, since we got Buddy, a lot of things have been weird happening, and that's why I mentioned. Well, I actually ended up private that video, but I mentioned a while back in one video that I just is no longer up for. I don't know, whatever. I overthink things, but um, so I guess that doesn't really matter. But what I'm trying to say is he's done some things that I don't really want to like talk about yet, because I'm still trying to fill that out to figure out if it's really supernatural. My boyfriend, he's nodding. He thinks it's supernatural. Let's put it that way. Or something that's just what dogs do, right? And um but there's one thing that I want to talk about. So I will probably talk about that either way, if I find it more supernatural based or just him being his buddy self. I will definitely include that later on as I investigate it more, I guess is the right word. But the one thing I did find very strange is that, like I mentioned, Kitty kind of has the I don't know, like the bed is her domain. Like he's not allowed on the bed. He's allowed to sleep on the floor. He's allowed to sleep on the couch. He has plenty of doggy beds. Like I don't want he's not he's he's good. Trust me, you should see him. I'm playing pictures of him on the couch living his best doggy life. Like he pretty much owns the couch right now. So you know what I mean? But he likes to come into the rooms and stuff like that. So we also have things like that, but whatever. But Kitty's places the bed, right? Like Kermie and I decided as like a couple to be like okay, Kitty needs her space. She's feeling like it's thing. The bed is her zone, right? So he's like I said, he's such a good dog. And when Kitty's here, like if anytime I say, hey, don't come closer because Kitty's a little stressed, or we're just trying to get them like, used to each other, right? And he's so good at like stopping and da 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 da. That's besides the point. So there was one time where Kitty was in her little litter area, right? And I think she was doing whatever Kitty does in her little kitty domain over there, right? And and so she was over there, and I had the door open, and he came into my room, which is usually fine. But in my mind, I was like, oh crap, I think Kitty's by her kitty litter, and I don't want him to come charging in and then like surprising her and scaring her, right? And again, it's not about him hurting her, it's more about her just being scared. And so I was just like, okay, like so let me go in there. And he goes and he's like underneath the bed, and he's like looking in the bed and then like coming out of the bed, looking in the bed and then coming out of the bed, and then looking under the bed. And it happened maybe like two or three times where it was like very quick. He was just like kind of sniffing under the bed, and my heart dropped because I was like, oh my gosh, is Kitty under there? Like she must be so scared. He wasn't growling or anything like that, but it was something like he was definitely trying to find something under the bed. And I was like, oh my gosh, Kitty must be under there, and she is going to be mad at me for letting this puppy into her bed domain, right? And so I like go in there and I, shush him out, and I go under the bed and there's no Kitty. And I'm like, okay, where's Kitty? And then I go into her other room and she's there. She's just chilling perfectly fine. And so I was like, oh, okay, like it wasn't Kitty. So then I go back under and I'm like, what was it? Like what there was no, and I checked under my bed. There was nothing under there that would have like piqued his interest at all. Like there was no doggy toy, no nothing. Like Nothing of the sort. And it wasn't like he was like trying to grab something like, I don't know, maybe like crumbs fall under there, or like maybe like I said, a sock or something like that. There was nothing that he was trying to play. It was like he was cautious with it. Like, like when an animal is approaching another animal and they're like cautious, kind of like, hey, are you friendly? I'm friendly. Like, I know I'm big, but I'm not trying to hurt you. That's kind of how Buddy approaches his kitty, and Kitty's like, still don't like you, bro. like, um, but like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like what it was like. That's why I thought it was Kitty. But it definitely wasn't. And I would have heard Kitty too if it, you know what I mean? So, um, I don't know. It was very weird. And I know I mentioned that I've been having weird stuff on my bed, and that's still kind of happening, where I feel like Kitty's moving on my bed and Kitty's not. She's sleeping right next to me and Kermie. She likes to sleep between us and the by our headboard and stuff. And I still feel that once in a while. And then him sniffing something. And then he'll also do this weird thing where he'll just like stare at the wall in my bedroom and kind of just like stare. And Kitty's done that before a lot of times. So I don't know if they both sense something. And then, like I said, there's a lot of other things that he does outside that I'm going to explain probably later. Cause again, I'm still, just trying to figure out what's worth reporting, I guess. Um, but yeah, I hope that makes sense. So basically, long story short, like, um, I thought he was trying to get Kitty, but Kitty was chilling in her her little zen room, and like the door was open and everything like that, but it wasn't like the way it's situated. She wouldn't have been able to like run, like it just wouldn't have happened that way. And she was not panicked. She was literally just, I don't even think she knew he was in the room. Let's put it that way. So, um, yeah, so it was kind of weird, and like I said, it hasn't happened since, but I will keep you updated. And I think the reason it gave me attention was because I was having weird things on my bed happen lately, so maybe the animal sensed something that I don't. So, but yeah, so other than that, I want to discuss some shows I've been watching, and then kind of one documentary that kind of like reminded me of like, um, I don't know, I guess of how I learned how the supernatural works. Um, but just this has nothing to do with supernatural the first few shows. But I did been watching a lot of shows as of late. I mean, me and Kermie always watch shows. That's kind of our thing. We watched a few good documentaries. We did watch, this is a while back, but we did watch the Unknown Call or Unknown Caller. That was really good. We already knew what was going to happen just because we kind of followed the case uh, briefly when it first was kind of happening. Um, but yeah, that was good. Obviously, we're not going to talk about who did it, but yeah. Then other than that, we watched Dexter Resurrection, and we both really really liked that season. This season, I really I think they're planning to do another. I think they said they green lighted it for up to 3 seasons, but I'm not sure. Or they're in the works to do that, like sign something for that, but I will be the first to say I did not really like the New Blood Dexter. Um, I didn't like it. The one when he was in the winter. I didn't hate it. Me and Kermie rewatched it before this new season came out. And so we rewatched it, and we actually kind of were like, okay, it wasn't as bad as we remembered it. It's just he didn't feel very dextery in the one, I think it was the New Blood one. He just didn't seem, was it New Blood? I don't know. It was the one where he's in the winter, not the one where he is a kid, like redoing that one, but the one where he's in the snow or whatever. But I mean, I didn't hate it. Hate it. Was it True Blood? I don't know. No, that's another show. Anyway, but I think people know that are fans of the show know what I'm talking about. We didn't love that one just because like it just he didn't feel really like Dexter, and I get that he was like, I guess trying to like be quote unquote sober and like, you know what I mean, from his thing, and like have a new life. And and I love the character Deborah in the first show, the first series. I loved him in that. Sorry, Kitty. Speaking of cats doing weird things, she is being extra weird.
See, there's weird shit going on in my room on my bed. She is now like, I don't know. Shit's going weird. Anyway, I should have taken a video of that because I don't even know how to describe that. But, um, but it's okay, baby. He's like, what is that? But, um, so we didn't really love that because he didn't feel like Dexter, right? He just didn't feel like Dexter, and Deborah kept screaming at him and screaming at him, and I loved her, like I said in the original Dexter, but her character obviously was like playing at his conscious and all that, and I'm just like, stop screaming at him, let him be Dexter. Like, you know what I mean? But obviously I don't think anything can replace the original Dexter, but I felt like this season was really 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 good. I don't know, Kermie says he wouldn't change a thing. I kind of wished a certain person still survived, but I don't want to give too many spoilers on it, but um yeah. Anyway, really good, and I really hope they continue on with the seasons because I think they had fun with it. Like I think they really had fun with it this season, and I'm sure they did it in the previous ones as well. But I don't know. I just feel like it was like more of a spark back for the show, anyway, in my opinion. Um, and let me see. Then obviously we're starting to watch Only Murders in the Building again. Kermie and I really like that show. It's like a comfort show. I think it's really cute and well done. I was afraid that they were gonna have too many what's the word, guest stars, because they have a lot of famous guest stars, and I don't mind that usually, but I really love the characters. Like I love the three of them, right? I think they're so cute together and stuff, and so sometimes I think when you have so many guest stars, it kind of takes away from their storyline a little bit because you have to like focus on the guest stars, right? Because you're not like having, you have fucking Meryl Streep. Like, like it's like, you know what I mean? You got to give her some screen time, right? And so, you know what I mean? But I feel like they're doing it really well this season so far. I mean, obviously, we just watched the fourth episode, but so far they've been doing it like where we're still getting good storylines and stuff like that because they just kept talking about all the new guest stars, and I'm like, okay, but I like the characters too. So, but I still feel like they're doing a really good job of that. I just like the three of them together. So, but yeah, so I think that show's really, really cute and just wholesome. And I really like the plot of this one a lot so far. So we'll see how it goes. Um, but yeah, so yeah, really enjoying that. And I like the guest stars a lot so far. So, um, other than that, what else? All right. So, the other thing we've been watching, it wasn't a show, but we've been kind of following Kermit and I, like once in a while. Like I said, like to watch what's going on in the true crime. I know Hulu is making the Murdoch case, which looks really good. I followed that a lot when it was going on, and then so we're looking forward to that on Hulu. I think that's coming out in October, I believe. So I'm excited about that, and then we're also really excited about the Ed Gein monster one that's coming out on Netflix. Um, but other than that, we started watching, which I know you know Netflix or Hulu is gonna make something out of that. The Adelson trials. The weird thing about the Adelsons, with Donna and Charlie and Wendy, if you're following that case, basically this woman, she was a lawyer. She was married to a guy. She got a divorce. The divorce was messy. She didn't want to move back to or stay in Tallahassee, but I guess they had a judgment in place where she has to live there for the kids, and she didn't like that. And so Charlie, her brother, and her mom basically did a murder for hire plot, and they ended up killing him. And everyone went to jail that's involved except for Wendy. And there's this big kerfuffle about her getting arrested in the true crime community. I'm not like heavily involved in the true crime community. I just like to watch once in a while clips that interest me, usually, the trial stuff. But that's kind of what's going on. So her mom just got arrested, just got sentenced, found guilty recently. So that's kind of why that case is back in the media. But the funny thing is about that case is the reason I want to talk about it is that it started in 2014 is when the murder actually happened. And it took just now, I think Charlie got arrested in 2020. 22 or something like that, 2022, 2023. And then I know Donna got arrested like a year ago, like 2024. So like they all like it took like 10 years for those two people, and now they're still trying to get justice with Wendy. I don't know if they have enough information or enough evidence against her to arrest her, because the way she was involved was she was very smart with it. She's very smart if you know anything about the case. The way she was a lawyer, so I guess she kind of understands how to like navigate the system, and like being oblivious is like the best. I guess oblivious is not the best word, but being ignorant about something is the best method, right? Like thing, because basically she let Charlie and her mother kind of. I think what happened was she used their personalities to do things for her, where she kept hinting that like, oh, if he was just gone, my life would be so much easier. And knowing their personalities of how Donna is super controlling and wanting to fix everything and hates that her grandbabies were taken away from her in a sense, and Charlie trying to impress Donna all the time. I think she used that to her advantage, and she didn't have to do anything. And so I think it's going to be harder for them to put the evidence on her, because technically she didn't really do anything, and she's not. They hid her from it all to protect her, right? But anyway, so that trial just happened, but I found it interesting that it took over 10 years to do this, and if and Wendy gets in trial, it'll take another what, two-ish years to be complete if they end up arresting her. But it's just so crazy that the mom didn't even get arrested until 2023. And I just think, in a way, of how justice works in the supernatural world, I think it's so weird that if just because you don't see certain things that are happening behind the scenes doesn't mean it's not, right? And that's what the thing with Wendy, it's like, you'll hear these lawyers saying, well, we don't think there's enough evidence, but there might be something that we don't know, that maybe even Wendy doesn't even know, that's taking place behind the scenes, that the lawyers and the prosecutors and the police are doing, and they're going to have that information to arrest her, and then we'll hear it in court, right? And I think that's how the universe works in a lot of weird ways. There's been times where I'm just kind of like, why isn't this happening for certain people, and for certain people that why, like when you the best way I can describe it is like when people do really bad things, right? That's what I'm talking about. Like, you see like certain things where like, why don't we have justice for this and that and that? And I think especially in the supernatural world, it takes a long time to get there, and you just don't know what's happening behind the scenes, right? And I think that's a very way the universe works, because with the universe, time time is like limitless. Sorry, my computer went bleh. Time is limitless, right? So I don't think the universe looks I don't think the universe looks at time. I think, they don't see it as regular humans do, quote unquote. And so for them, I don't think that's something that's an issue for it. And so I just don't know if anyone's like into the supernatural and kind of like, I don't know, like, or even going through their own thing, why it's like, why doesn't God punish this person for doing this to my family? And I'm talking about bad things, right? Not petty things, right? Um, and I think it's like in a way, or whoever you are, whoever's your God, or whoever you look to in the universe, I think that kind of trial kind of proves that just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening, right? And like I said, we watched this other documentary, and it was called Mrs. and Mrs. Murder on Hulu. And it was about this case um uh that occurred. And the funny thing is, the only reason I was watching, I had no idea what this case was about, and I was like, oh my gosh, I watched this interrogation like years ago, because I like once in a while will watch interrogations for, I don't know, shits and giggles. But I watched one interrogation. But basically, long story short, it took almost 20 years for this case to get justice, right? And luckily the parents were still alive to see the justice and stuff like that. But the case was horrible, and this one of the best friends of the person that got murdered had to like befriend this other person to get information for years, right? She had to be like pretend to be her friend and like things to get information. If she didn't do that, then nothing would be able to
happen, you know what I mean? And it's just, it's one of those things, and you could think like, oh, during all this time, like people that gossip was like, why is she being friends when this person's being accused of her best friend's murder? But it's like, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right? And I think the supernatural works through people like that in different ways, and they take their time and they build their case. And I don't know. I don't know. It just made me think a lot about the supernatural. And maybe if you had your own journey with the supernatural, kind of getting where I'm going with it, or trying to have like an understanding of it. But sometimes, not even just for the people that I know, but for almost people that I know that might deserve justice, I get frustrated for them. And I look at these cases and you're like, but we don't know what's happening behind the scenes and how the universe is working in order to fulfill what needs to happen, right? So I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting way to look at it. I probably didn't say it the best way, and maybe I'll try and maybe find a case in the supernatural world that will express myself a little better. Hang on. But the last thing I want to say about that is the mom of that documentary was the real MVP, because she was the only one that like never stopped and never gave up. And like, even the girl that I talked about that ended up being like an informant basically, and like pretending to be someone's friend that was the murderer to get information. Even her, before she found out more information, stuff that thought the mom was crazy. She was like, what her new husband was like, hey, like, let's go talk to this mom, let's go see her. And she's like, why would I talk to her? She's crazy, because she's like the one that's putting missing signs for her son, saying like, this was not a murder, like, where's my son, like, you know what I mean? And just would not stop. And she was the one that knew the truth all along, right? And people were calling her crazy, or like, feeling sorry for her, or all these things. And it's like, she's the one that was like, no, I know my instincts. My son was murdered. And thank goodness that she was able to get justice and see that, because, like I said, it was like 20 something years. These people got to go live a life and do all these things, and her son was killed, right? And yeah, it was just horrible. And if you followed the case, I mean, it's a very interesting case. But that mom didn't give up. And then once people listened to her and really took the time and started experiencing what they experienced, they're like, oh, you're not crazy, and that was my friend, and I want justice too, right? And and then they got to work as a team, and the mom was like, I'm so glad you came, and they were able to solve the case together, essentially, right, with the help with the police. But it was the mom that really pushed for, you know I don't know. I think it's also another thing, especially in the supernatural world, where it's like, I get scared sometimes posting these things. Not scared anymore, just more like, like, I guess uncomfortable is the right word for it. But it's also one of those things, like, I know my truth, and I'm just going to keep saying my truth. And, you know, that's all I can do. Right. And like I said, for the people that kind of experience similar things, maybe they can come here and be like, you're not actually crazy. So we'll figure it out together. So anyway, that was my ramble for the end of this video. I was going to apologize for it, but I don't apologize, because that is why my investigative videos are way more scripted, and these are just more for me to ramble and say what's on my mind. And I understand that it'll be for some people and not for everybody, and that is okay. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. And stay curious and stay curious and stay tuned into the supernatural. Thanks for watching or listening. Bye.